gonna be discussing today something on like a positive note, and it's gonna be Darkstalkers. Well, this is kind of like a good thing and also really kind of like an introspective look at the series of Darkstalkers, and we got a whole lot to discuss before we get into like the nitty and gritty of it. As the title of this article says, Street Fighter 6 director Nakayama-san, not Matsumoto but Nakayama, implies Street Fighter 6 director implies new Darkstalkers game was actually once in development. Fans have been like quick to note or taken onto like, you know, social media. Taka Nakayama, he is one of the directors and producers of Street Fighter 6 alongside Matsumoto-san, and they've been doing stellar job with Street Fighter 6 as of recently. They made like a wonderful like Street Fighter game and have been getting lots of like praise for their HD collection of Marvel vs. Capcom games. So yeah, these like young blood just taking over, and Capcom is like in a better spot than they ever were before. And we're gonna be getting Capcom Fighting Collection in the next year with Capcom vs. SNK games and Rival Schools and not Cyberbots. Cyberbots was the first one. But two, they have Power Stone, they have Star Gladiator. Old school Capcom games really making a comeback just because they're HD ports of games we haven't seen in a long time from them. But what about the other games? Like, what about like, let's say, Darkstalkers? A long forgotten game, and it's like Capcom's version of their Halloween, right? You got succubuses, you got Jungshis, mummies, werewolves, interdimensional beings, Sasquatches, vampires, zombies, right? This is the most like Halloween-esque fighting game, and we did take a look into that, and we took a look at like Terrordrome, but this was kind of like the progenitor of Halloween as a fighting game. You can't be more Halloween than Darkstalkers. Nakayama just is very like active on social media, and he said some pretty interesting stuff about like Darkstalkers, right? Based on like, you know, a tweet, and we can open up this tweet right here. Talking about his work in a game called Auto Ranger, and made like this following reply. I came back because I could make a fighting game that's not SF, and it's marked with a bat emoji right here. But then he says, the development stopped and I joined the Otoren team. I worked with Golden Bomber at TGS and collaborations at Yuta Giba, and said to me, I love SF, please give me a job. I think a lot of things have led to where I am now. Thank you very much. So he was originally like reminiscing, like he was talking about like his experiences before he began to like work on SF, specifically SF6. And then he started like talking about like what his goal was is like to bring back Darkstalkers. And Darkstalker fans were like super fucking pissed. Super fucking like hopeful and swooning over the moon that like, yo, Capcom gonna make Darkstalkers now? He doesn't say it outright, the game Darkstalkers, but it is certainly heavily implied, since the bats are iconic to the horror fighting game Vampire Saviors. That's a bit of a different story. Maybe I'll talk about it later. Yeah, and it's just like a little bit of kind of like the woes and the curses of Darkstalkers, right? I mean, Darkstalkers, I love Darkstalkers. I even have like Darkstalkers as a wall scroll like in the back there, right? But just to like talk about like a little bit of like the history of Darkstalkers, it's a fantastic game series with a lot of like lore and very unique and diverse characters, right? Again, ranging from vampires to werewolves to interdimensional beings. It was the Capcom like fighting game that was like considered to be the first anime fighter. All about aerial movement, aerial dashing, and just unique roster diversity across the board. it would later be like an influence to games like Guilty Gear, or I think also KI. KI can be considered like an anime fighter, even though it's got its own mechanics that make it different from other fighting games, but it is still like an anime fighter in nuance. So the only problem with like Darkstalkers is that it has a very rough history of just trying to gauge the audience to like come back. And what I mean by that is that Darkstalkers had like several, not one, not two, but several chances to like come back. There was like Darkstalkers anthology ports, Darkstalkers as a series went all the way up to like, what was it? Darkstalkers 3? The Night Warriors? Things like that, where they added like Donovan Bane. And that was like pretty much like it. And then they tried to like come back at like a Comic-Con panel where they had like a little like CG, I'll show you like the CG panel of the one Darkstalkers game. It was supposed to like debut around the same time frame as Street Fighter 4, hence like Street Fighter 4 looks like that. But when we see like the Darkstalkers Not Dead, yeah, Darkstalkers is not dead. Yeah, this one. This one was taken at New York Comic Con. Capcom had like a booth over there, had like a panel over there, and this was a literal Street Fighter 4 cinematic CG inspired trailer, but with Darkstalkers characters. And you can hear the roar of the crowd. As soon as they saw like Lord Raptor's guitar, and they see him coming out and he looks like this. Oh my god, dude.
Not bad, not bad.
Oh my god. And then we get to see fucking Dmitry Maximov in Street Fighter 4 style. Lord Raptor's like guitar had like Rock is not dead, and it says Darkstalkers is not dead, and it was hosted by Ono of all people. Even Ono, who was primarily known for giving us like characters like Rufus, Abigail, so many fucking weird characters. It's so many Final Fight characters in the final stretches of Street Fighter V's legacy. That CG trailer happened, and want to know what happened right after that? Darkstalkers Resurrection. That game was a HD remaster collection that only had two games, Darkstalkers or Night Warriors and Darkstalkers 3, right? Two games in one like HD collection. Similarly, like the game is like a similar like style as Street Fighter 3rd Strike Online Edition and Marvel vs. Capcom Origins. Both Capcom games, both like HD recollections for the quote-unquote modern day at the time. And a lot of people wanted to buy the game but couldn't. And this was partly also because of like Capcom. And in that era, they were doing what's called the Capcom tests. Capcom is a much more different company now. I don't know if they still have this practice, the Capcom tests back then, or sorry, even now, but back then, let's say you buy a game, right? And the company projects like 12 million units sold. They would put out IPs from their library to gauge like the audience and see if they are interested. They'll buy something related to said IP. For example, right, since we're talking about Darkstalkers, they launched the CG trailer like before the Resurrection, and then they launched the Resurrection, and guess what happened? Nothing. Not a lot of people bought that collection to instigate Capcom to make a new Darkstalkers. people were hoping to play a new Darkstalkers game since it's been like so long, but they weren't happy with an HD pack. I was super happy. I got Darkstalkers Resurrection on my PS3. I still have it to this day. Dude, that's where like I fell in love with Darkstalkers. That's where I didn't know what it was. I was just like buying like a fighting game. I actually like bought it for free because I had PlayStation Plus. But at the time, not a lot of dudes bought Darkstalkers Resurrection because they were really hoping for a new one. This is like common with like, you know, fighting game perception back then, is that if let's say something is like new, right? Like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, something with like they're trying out new engines. No longer were we in the 2D style, we're rather in the 2.5D style with Guilty Gear Strive, Street Fighter 4, Mortal Kombat 9. Games were experimenting with like new graphics and things like that because PS3 and Xbox were the dopest of shits. So the common perception is like new game yummy, new game good, old crusty 2D fighter, ew, throw that shit in the garbage. Until later and behold, we realize how important old school fighting games are. Marvel vs. Capcom. How important they are. And they're just like pretty like vital to the fighting game community. But back then, nobody bought Darkstalkers Resurrection, and Darkstalkers is Not Dead became like a running gag in like so many like other things, not just in like social media, but even in other like games like Street Fighter Cross Tekken. There was a little kid that had like a Darkstalkers is Not Dead shirt in one of like the cutscenes, and yeah, nobody like bought it. It just like it told Capcom that like, yeah, let's not make another Darkstalkers game because nobody is really interested in a new Darkstalkers game. And then lo and behold, after some time, Capcom launched the first Capcom Fighting Collection. Back when they first debuted Street Fighter 6 as a teaser trailer. And so yeah, the Capcom Fighting Collection was sick, but that was like Capcom Fighting Collection. No one really cared about the collection unless you're like a super uber fighting game fan. And you know what Capcom Fighting Collection had? Darkstalkers 3, right? I mean, I still have it. It also had Cyberbots, it also had Super Puzzle Fighter 2, it had Red Earth, it had Hyper Street Fighter 2, right? It was the first collection before the Capcom Fighting Collections really like took off as of like recently. Yeah, a lot of people were more excited about Street Fighter than, let's say, the hero of that collection, which was Darkstalkers Night Warriors. So yeah, it's just unfortunately to say that Darkstalkers has not been getting the most like there are fans that are out there and want like a new Darkstalkers game, but time has told us, history has told us that you motherfuckers are not gonna buy a new Darkstalkers. You say you like a new Darkstalkers, but are not willing to like, you know, put it down. Put down the effort. No, sorry, not put it down. Sorry, wrong phrasing. Put down the effort, or, you know, fully commit yourselves to make like a vehement march in Washington, D.C. for a new Darkstalkers game. No, it's not. And let's say if like there is a new Darkstalkers game. I mean, we watched like the CG trailer. It looks crazy. It looks cool, but my thing is, and this is from like, you know, from listening to other streams about a potential like Darkstalkers game, and I agree with them on this, and also will say this: Darkstalkers should be like just staying like in the past, right? If there was like a new Darkstalkers game, they would have to try really, really hard to make it unique from some of the other modern day Capcom fighting games. Capcom, not just fighting games, but games. everyone in Capcom is going for the RE engine, things like that. Like Street Fighter looks amazing with RE engine, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, right? Those games excel well with the RE engine. Would it really apply to a game that's hyper eccentric focused as Darkstalkers, where every character looks super fucking unique? How are you gonna make an RE engine Sasquatch? How are you gonna make an RE engine John Talbane? Morgan, Felicia, Lilith, yeah, you can like get by with them, but some of the other weirder characters in Darkstalkers, how are you gonna make a fully visualized, like, unique character in Darkstalkers? How are you gonna make fucking Pyron, who's nothing but like solar-like energy? Fact is like you can't, right? It would be, I mean, we talked about like sprites and like they're hard like now, but dude, how are you gonna make like a fully up-res, upscaled Unreal Engine 5 like interdimensional flammable being from outer space? Like, it just, to me, wouldn't really like jive well. The only like space where Darkstalkers would really jive well would be something like an Arc System Works style. Not saying like Capcom and Arc System Works would be, you know, they could do it. They could, you know, handshake, you know, do like the spit handshake, like confirm, like seal the deal. All right, let's make a new Darkstalkers game. I don't think so. What is their like their relationship is, but it's very unlikely. But that's where Darkstalkers could really like lie. When you look at like Darkstalkers and like their animations, like you can see like they're not like the usual like fighting game with like regular get-up animations or things like that. Everything is like very animated, you know? Characters like do crazy shit, like Victor von Frankenstein, Victor Hugo Frankenstein or some shit, grabs you by his ass cheeks and then like squeezes you with each butt cheek. One from the right, one from the left, hand in hand, tango and tango. You know, like things like that. Darkstalkers is so like out there that I don't necessarily see it be made in an RE engine. But I would love to like see Capcom like fiddle around with like, you know, RE engine likes, you know? And that, I mean, is that Capcom has made the Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection game. Ghosts and Goblins wasn't really like, you know, super HDified. Arthur was a big man in a little boy's armor, you know? But that's Arthur. There's no way of changing like Arthur to, there's no reason to make Arthur look HDified. You can try, but the way how like Ghosts and Goblins like visually like pans out is that, yeah, it works like Resurrections does. Semi like anime style in a side-scrolling aspect, you know? That's just like how it does and how it works. There's no need to make it like Street Fighter 6. It works with its best element. And that's what I mean for like, you know, Darkstalkers, is that its best element would be something a la like a Arc System Works anime aesthetic. Sorry for the cough. And also, Darkstalkers, also in terms of like their legacy, right? If there is like no Darkstalkers game, I think it like just technically lives on in other like formats, right? As like DLC costumes, albeit disgusting, but like that's the most Darkstalkers we're ever going to get from Darkstalkers ever, cause we know this shit is not gonna like come back. I could be wrong. Then all of a sudden, like a Nintendo Direct, and then there's like a full Darkstalkers HD collection is coming back. I could be wrong. Or if Capcom, or if like, let's say like 2 months from now, Game Awards, the published company there that partnering with the Game Awards, Capcom, they drop a Darkstalkers, and this shit has been cooking in the works. I could be wrong. But that's just a theory, that's just a hope, that's just like Nostradamus plotting the charts, plotting the stars up above. It's not gonna happen like, you know, now. Darkstalkers is a very, like, it's still like tucked away. It still is like not wanting to like be disturbed. There's a lot of disturbances by fans and very vocal fans that want Darkstalkers to come back, but just practically just like, you know, the bitter pill to swallow. I think like Darkstalkers lives on in other like formats, like let's say the Street Fighter new battle pass, right? The Halloween themed and shit, you know? Lives on in like other formats. The legacy lives on, just not in the ways that like you want it to have. The fact that like Nakayama-san talks about it, that like, yeah, he wants Darkstalkers to come back, but then he later says it immediately got like canceled because there was other shit that came by. Yeah, people really want Darkstalkers to come back. It's just, as time, as history, you know, told us, I don't think a Darkstalkers is going to come back. Again, ultimately, once again, I could be wrong, but damn, man, like, it's just hard. I'm a big like Darkstalkers fan. Again, I have the wall scroll like right there in the back of my room, but yeah, it's just the future of Darkstalkers is like very iffy. And the only like reasonable conclusion that y'all can like come up with the same way as I have, yeah, bro, just like lives on through like costumes, right? Lives on through fan art, lives on through just people like Vampire Arcadia or Juicy Game Night hosting Darkstalkers tournament. The game, the series technically lives on, but are we gonna get like a new like Darkstalkers game? Most likely not. Most likely not. I don't think we'll see a Darkstalkers anytime soon. Anytime soon. There could be a chance, but I wouldn't get like my hopes up for a new Darkstalkers game. I don't mean to be like, you know, turning off anyone's hopes or expectations of a new Darkstalkers. I want a Darkstalkers game. Like how with Marvel vs. Capcom. You know how many times I've been telling people a new Marvel vs. Capcom game is not going to happen? And then the collection comes out and then I had a whole 180? Dude, now there's chances for Marvel vs. Capcom 4 to come. We don't know how, but it's just, no, what was it? No, it's not a matter of if anymore, it's a matter of when. Like Capcom vs. SNK. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But only if we like see signs that people love Darkstalkers again, which of course they do, but not to the point that like, you know, I'ma buy the next collection for Darkstalkers, things like that. No. We tried and tried before, it doesn't work.